we ready for the jury?
Oh, yes, Your Honor. State's ready.
Mr. Fox?
Yes, sir, Your Honor. We're ready.
All right, let's have the jury. Good morning, members of the jury. Counsel ready to proceed?
State's ready, Judge.
All right, you call your next witness.
State will call Joe Portier to the stand. Mr. Portier, before you sit down, I'm going to get you to remain standing and raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony before this jury with the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Have a seat for me, please, sir. Get you to introduce yourself to the jury for me.
Pardon?
Can I get you to introduce yourself to the jury for me?
Okay, I'm Joe Portier.
And can you spell that last name?
Portier.
Mr. Portier, in what town do you live?
Ocilla.
How long have you lived in Ocilla?
All my life.
And with a lady, I'm not supposed to ask this, but I'm going to ask you, how old are you, Mr. Portier?
I'm 76.
Now, Mr. Portier, what kind of work do you do?
I'm with a local CPA firm. Been there 56 years.
And do you still actively work?
Every day.
And in fact, is this your busy season?
It is.
Okay. Now, Mr. Portier, I'm going to direct your attention back to 2005. Where were you living in 2005?
304 Park Street.
Okay. Did you know someone by the name of Tara Faye Grinstead?
I did.
And how did you know Tara?
She was my next door neighbor.
Anyone else live in the house with you back in 2005?
In my house?
Yes, sir.
Me and my wife.
What's your wife's name?
Myrtle.
Now, how long did Tara live beside you and Miss Myrtle?
Probably 3 or 4 years.
During those 3 or 4 years, did you get to know Tara well?
I did.
Tell us about your relationship and Miss Myrtle's relationship with Tara during that time period that she lived next door to you, please.
She became about like our daughter. We saw her every day, in and out of our house. Just, good neighbors.
What kind of work did Tara do?
Teacher.
And do you know how long she had been teaching before she went missing?
I don't.
Do you know what grade she taught? High school, middle school, elementary? Do you know?
High school history, I think.
Now, I want to specifically direct your attention to October of 2005, the weekend that you last saw Tara. On that Saturday, was there anything special going on for Ocilla and Fitzgerald?
The beauty contest.
And which beauty contest was that?
The one in Fitzgerald. I don't think it was the sweet potato. I think it was just a beauty contest.
Okay. Was Tara one who would help out with beauty contests?
Oh yeah, she fixed numerous girls' hair and makeup.
Now that particular day, do you know, did Tara fix anybody's hair or makeup that was related to you?
My granddaughter.
And how old was your granddaughter at the time?
8.
Was she going to be in that beauty pageant as well?
Yes.
What was your granddaughter's name? Or what is your granddaughter's name?
Mary Beth.
Mary Beth. At any point on that Saturday, were you at Tara Grinstead's home?
I did. Me and my son was building deer stands out at the farm, and when I come in for lunch, my wife told me that Tara wanted me to come over and see Mary Beth's hair and makeup that she had fixed.
Yes, sir. What did you think about the hair and makeup?
I told Tara I didn't like it.
Why was that?
Because it made her look too old. She was more or less a child. But after the makeup, she looked like an 18-year-old.
After you saw Mary Beth and her makeup, what did you do next?
Went back to the farm building deer stands.
When was the next time you saw Tara?
I didn't.
Now, that Saturday night, did you ever see Tara come home?
I did not.
Was that unusual that you might not know when Tara got home?
Not really. If she was in town, we didn't worry about it much.
Now, when she was out of town, she was traveling, was there sort of a signal she had to let y'all know when she was home and safe?
She turned on the lamp in her bedroom.
On Saturday evening, did you ever see that lamp come on?
I didn't look for it really because she was in town.
What about on Sunday? Did you ever see that lamp come on?
No.
At some point, did you receive a phone call from someone who was also looking for Tara?
Yeah, Tara's mother called me Sunday, wanted to know had we seen Tara, which we hadn't, and that wasn't unusual.
Okay.
We wouldn't see her all weekend, you know.
Now, Tara's mother, what was her name? Do you know?
I don't forget.
It's okay. Is she still living?
No, she's deceased.
Now, when her mother called and asked you if you had seen Tara, do you remember what time of day or night it was on Sunday?
It was probably like 7 o'clock at night.
Did you do anything in response to her mother calling?
I did not.
And I don't think I asked this already, but did you ever see Tara herself on that Sunday?
No.
So going into Monday morning, what was the first indication you had Monday morning that something was wrong?
The policeman from Perry called me, wanted to know would I go over there and check on Tara. That he had came down that night, beat on the door, beat on the window, and couldn't get her to come to the door or the window, and wanted to know would I go over there and check on her.
Okay. Now this person that you've described as the policeman from Perry, had you ever met him before?
I have not.
Did you know of him?
I knew of him.
And do you know if he had ever been to Tara's home before?
Yes.
When he called you and asked you to check on Tara, why is it that he would have called you instead of somebody else to check on Tara?
I guess he knew we was next door neighbors and had a key to her house.
Okay. Why did you have a key to Tara's home?
She had given my wife a key a couple of years earlier, so that I think she went off one time and thought she had left her candles burning. I wanted us to go over there and put them out.
Yes, sir.
And then we'd go over there and check on the cat.
That was going to be my next question. Did Tara have any animals back in 2005?
Had a dog and a cat.
When she was out of town, was it unusual that y'all would take care of those animals?
Usually we would.
When that policeman from Perry called you, did you go over to Tara's house and check on her at that time?
I didn't. I told him I would have to check at the school to make sure that she wasn't there, or, I wasn't just going to bust in her house and invade her privacy.
Yes, sir.
So I turned around and called Bobby Connor, who was the principal, on
Yes,
his
sir.
cell phone. And he was in Atlanta, but he got in touch with someone and they checked on her class and she wasn't there.
After learning that now her mother and the policeman from Perry could not make contact with her and she wasn't at school, what did you do?
I called my wife, who was working at the Osceola nursing home at the time, because she knew what the key was, and told her to come and meet me at Tara's house that something was wrong.
Did you speak with anyone else before going to Tara's house that morning?
I don't think so. I might have spoke with Larry and Deena Harper.
Now, who are Larry and Deena Harper?
That was Marcus's daddy.
And when you say Marcus, for those
Marcus
who may
Harper.
not be familiar, what's Marcus's last name?
Harper.
And what was his connection or their connection to Tara?
He was a former boyfriend.
Marcus.
Marcus was.
And then you said Larry and Deena were who to Marcus?
Larry was Marcus's daddy.
Did Larry and Deena Harper show up at Tara's residence that morning?
They did.
And at some point, did you or anybody else in that group go into Tara's home?
Yeah, as soon as my wife got there with the key, we went in and searched the house over.
Okay. Was Tara home?
No.
Did you find any indication as to where Tara might be when you got into her home?
No.
When you first went into the home, was there anything unusual to you about the residence at that point?
Well, about 30 girls coming in and out of her house that Saturday. There was clothes and jewelry, laying around, thrown around.
Other than that, anything else catch your attention at the home?
No.
At that point, anything that you could see that showed any sort of a struggle?
No.
Now, what about in the yard? Did you notice anything in the yard that caught your attention?
Yeah, after searching the house, I went out on the front porch and called Billy Hancock on his cell phone. I had his cell number because I was on the city council. And
Yes, sir.
anyway, that's when I noticed the glove laying out in the yard.
Now, who is Billy Hancock?
The chief of police of Ocilla, Georgia.
And did Billy Hancock, the chief, wind up responding that day to Tara's home?
Yeah, they come right on.
Now, you said you noticed the glove. Tell us what you mean by that. Where was the glove?
Probably about 5 foot off of her front porch.
Show opposing counsel to mark the state's exhibits 1 and 2 for purposes of this trial. May I approach the witness, Judge?
You may.
Mr. Portier, I'm going to show you first what's been marked as State's Exhibit 1 and ask you if you recognize that. You can wear your glasses if you need to.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. How do you recognize State's 1?
How do I recognize it?
Yes, sir.
Well, it was Tara's front yard.
Okay. And does that appear to be a true and accurate depiction of Tara's front yard as it appeared that Monday morning when you went there?
Yes.
And then I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 2 and ask you if you recognize that.
Yes.
How do you recognize that?
That was a glove I saw that I pointed out to Chief Hancock.
Is that a true and accurate depiction of what that glove looked like in the yard that Monday morning?
Yes.
As to States 1 and States 2, again, are they true and accurate depictions of what you saw that Monday morning?
Yes.
Any
Yes.
changes, deletions, subtractions, anything of that nature from what you saw then?
No.
Your Honor, at this time I will tender and evidence States Exhibits 1 and 2.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, they're admitted.
And may I publish those to the jury?
You may.
Now, Mr. Portier, when you went into Tara's home that morning, did you disturb anything in her home? Did you touch anything other than just going in and looking for her?
I'm sure we did. 'Cause, we were looking under the beds and closets and, just plundering, really.
Yes, sir.
Somebody wanted to know, reckon she had just packed her bags and left. And, of course, I looked in the closet and I told them, I wouldn't know if my wife had packed a bag and left unless she took everything she had.
Okay.
But we was really trying to find extra set of keys to the car so we could look in the trunk.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
At that point, did you have any idea what had happened to Tara?
no,
Showing opposing counsel, it's been pre-marked as State's Exhibits 4, 5, and 6. And may I approach the witness, Judge?
You may.
Mr. Portier, I'm going to show you first what's been marked as State's Exhibit 3 and ask you if you recognize States 3.
I do. But
How do you recognize States 3?
I got the same picture.
You do have the same picture? And is that a true and accurate depiction of what Tara Grinstead looked like the last time you saw her in 2005?
Yes.
States Exhibit 4, do you recognize that?
Yes.
And how do you recognize States Exhibit 4?
I think I have a copy of that picture.
Is that a true and accurate depiction of what Tara Grinstead looked like the last time you saw her in 2005?
Yes.
States Exhibit 5, do you recognize that?
Yes.
And how do you recognize States 5?
That's Tara.
Is that a true and accurate depiction of what Tara looked like the last time you saw her in 2005?
Yes.
And then finally, State 6. Do you recognize State 6?
Yes.
And how do you recognize State 6?
I think that's a picture they had on her, the missing person
that also a true and accurate depiction of what Tara looked like in 2005, the last
Yes.
time you saw her?
Yes.
All right, this time I would tender into evidence states 3, 4, 5, and 6.
No objection.
All right, they're admitted.
May I publish at least some of those to the jury, Judge?
You may.
I'm going to attempt to use the system over here. I understand you have to turn it on for me, though.
It's upside down over here.
You can see it on your screen, though.
I can see it on mine. I don't know
It's
what.
not showing. There are buttons of live.
Yeah, I've hit it sometimes and just nothing.
That's not more, I'm asking this question.
No,
You mind or you don't mind?
no, I don't mind. Come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I just. I hit it.
It stands on there.
Yeah, you did it. Yeah, you had it.
I'm just going to move on, Judge. We'll figure that out later. All that fancy technology never seems to work when I need it anyway. May I publish?
Yeah. Let's leave it on.
I'm sorry, Judge. May I publish takes 3, 4, 5, and 6 to the jury?
You may.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Portier, the residence where Tara Grinstead lived in 2005 next door to you, what county was that in?
Irwin.
And from that Saturday when you went over and saw her after she had helped fix up your granddaughter Mary Beth, have you ever seen Tara Grinstead again?
No.
I don't have any further questions of this witness, Judge.
Mr. Fox.
Morning. Do you know or have you ever met Mr. Bo Dukes?
Pardon?
Do you know or have you ever met Mr. Bo Dukes?
I knew of him because he played football for Irwin County High, and I'm a big fan.
Okay. Other than him having played football, did you two ever meet, talk, or anything like that?
All right. I just knew of him.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Anything further?
No, sir.
All right, you can step down.
Can I go home?
There's a reason he can't be excused.
No, Your Honor.
Yeah, Mr. Fox,
That's okay.
you're excused, Mr. Portier.
You excuse.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Portier.
You call your next witness.
The state calls John McCullough. You raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before the court in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay? Put your hand down and have a seat.
Oh, yes, sir.
Microphone, ma'am.
If you will, introduce yourself to the jury, please.
Oh, yes, I'm John McCullough from Spring, Texas.
All right, if you'll spell your first and your last name for the court, please.
John, John, last name McCullough, McCullough.
Now, Mr. McCullough, you just told us you were from Spring, Texas. Where is Spring, Texas?
It's probably about 15 miles north of Houston.
Mr. McCullough, I want to direct your attention to a person by the name of Bo Dukes. Do you know a person by the name of Bo Dukes?
Yes, sir.
And how do you know a person by the name of Bo Dukes?
I was actually at Fort Sill, Oklahoma at Charlie 119, in which I attended basic training there and began in November of 2006.
All right. And when you were there at Fort Sill, Oklahoma for basic training, is that when you met Bo Dukes?
Yes, sir.
All right. And the person you know is Bo Dukes. Is he in the courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you tell me what he's wearing, please, sir?
Yes, sir. He's wearing a jacket with a tie with a comb-over little hairdo.
All right. Now, Mr. McCullough, when you met Bo Dukes there at basic training, about what time was this? What year and month, if you can recall?
Like I said, it is about November of 06.
Now, how long does basic training last?
It's normally 9 weeks, but because of how it fell whenever we attended, it was actually a 2-week Christmas Exodus break in between, so totaling about 11 weeks.
And when you talk about a Christmas break, what did you do for that Christmas break in November of 2006?
Well, I first initially had planned to go home to see my family because I'm pretty close with my family and stuff like that. But, you know, he had mentioned something about, hey, man, you know, it'd be cool. You can come back to Georgia, you know, and we can hang out and stuff like that if you really don't have too much going on in Texas. And I was like, oh, man, you know, I've never been to Georgia. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I'd go, you know.
Something I failed to ask you, Mr. McCullough, are you currently employed?
Yes, sir.
And how are you employed?
I am the fleet manager at Hayes Utilities South. It's a water district company in Spring.
And how long have you been employed there?
Almost 1 year. Yeah, close to 1 year. It'll be 1 year, April 2nd. But previous to that, I've been a mechanic or a fleet mechanic at several shops.
Okay. Now, again, you decided to go home with Bo Dukes for Christmas break from basic training. How did you get to Georgia?
Bus. It was a Greyhound bus.
And when you got to Georgia, do you know what town when you came to?
Ocilla.
And when was it that you saw Bo Dukes?
Well, whenever I initially got to town, he had already been in town already because he had chose to fly, and his mother actually picked me up from the bus stop.
Now, when his mother picked you up in the bus stop, where did you go?
I believe I went to her house.
Now, when you got to her house, do you know where her house was?
No, sir, not. I wasn't really too familiar with the area and stuff like that, so I couldn't tell you exactly where it is. But I do remember going to her house.
And Mr. McCullough, when you arrived there at her house, was Mr. Dukes there?
Yes, sir.
All right. And tell me how you spent the weekend.
Well, you know, just
break, I should say.
obviously we're on break. You know, we're in the military, so it's very strict. You know, you can't drink alcohol. You can't, you know, actually do anything quote unquote fun. So you know, we hung out and stuff like that, and then they had said initially, oh well, hey, we got tickets to go to a Georgia versus Virginia Tech game, but you know that was later on in the time that we were going to be there. I believe the game was going to be on January 3rd. But, you know, we had gone out several times to just minor little small places around town and, you know, just to hang out, you know, nothing too crazy.
Now, during the course of that time that you were in Georgia for that break, did Mr. Dukes make some statements to you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Tell me how it was that these statements came up.
Well, it was, you know, pretty late at night, and, you know, he had been drinking and also used some substances in the sense of cocaine. And I was driving, which I'm very adamant about, you know, not drinking and driving and, you know, doing stuff like that. And I didn't want him to drive, even though it was his mom's car. It was a little black 3 Series BMW in which, you know, we had stopped because he had needed to drink. Stopped at a convenience store, parked in the parking lot, and when I actually went in alone, got some drinks, came back outside, and, you know, we're just sitting there, and, you know, like I had said, it was pretty late, so we're sitting there, and he, you know, seemed like something was bothering him, possibly, and he just, you know, started to come out and say, hey, you know, you're my battle, right? You're my battle buddy, right? And I was like, yeah, man, you know.
When you say battle buddy, what did you understand that to mean?
Well, whenever it was explained to us, whenever, you know, any, I guess, wartime situation or battle situation, that you always have that buddy with you, so you know you're not alone, so somebody can always watch your back.
You know, when he referred to you as his battle buddy, what did he tell you?
He had just asked if I was his battle, and I said, yeah, and he was like, well, man, he was like, you know, I need to tell you something, and that's whenever I was pretty much shocked. To the extreme, and it messed with me pretty good.
And what was it that shocked you?
The fact of I had made comments previous in the day to whenever we were riding through town, because, you know, I've never been to Georgia, so we rode around Ocilla, Rochelle, Fitzgerald, you know, just, oh man, yeah, you know, look at this, you know, basically taking me around and showing me around town. And I had mentioned something about seeing a billboard, and it had a really, really pretty lady that was on it. And I was like, man, that's crazy, you know, what's going on with that, you know? And that was, like I said, the previous conversation we had. But he had brought it up and said, do you remember that billboard that you had seen? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I know what happened. And then I was like kind of shocked with that and was like, what?
Did he tell you what happened?
To an extent, yes, sir.
Okay, and tell me what he told you.
He had started to say, like I said, I know what happened. I was there. And he had said that my friend had came to me and said that, am I allowed to have open language in here?
You used the language that he told you. Yes.
Okay. And he said that his friend had showed up and said, man, I fucked up. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, he continued to tell me that he had, messed up and he needed his help. He needed his truck.
His friend needed Bo's help. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And he had said that he had needed his help because he said that, like I had mentioned, that he had fucked up. And whenever he continued to explain of the situation, I wanted to stop in disbelief because it's a severe thing, man, for somebody to be able to do stuff like that. But he had said that he had technically killed Tara to him.
The friend had said that.
Yes, that he had beat her and accidentally strangled her and killed her, and he didn't know what to do. So he needed his truck to be able to move her body.
And did Bo Dukes tell you if he loaned his truck to his friend?
He said that he had went with his friend and used the truck, which was the white Ford F-150. That was manual transmission, and I know that truck because I actually drove that truck while I was in Ocilla, which makes it even weirder for me.
And did he tell you once he had gone with Mr. Bo Dukes had gone with his friend to help him, where they went?
He, in a sense, didn't disclose the exact location of where they went to pick up the body in his head, but he had said that they had went and recovered the body, and they continued to take it to the middle of his grandpa's, or the Hudson Pecan Orchard. And the exact location didn't tell me, but had made the comment of, we took her to the middle of the pecan orchard and burned her body. And if I can roll back a little bit, whenever I was in basic training, he had made the comment, which now it made sense, of the sense of, hey man, it takes more than 1,200 degrees to burn human bones.
When he was telling you that they burned the body there in the pecan wood, did you remember that statement that he had made to you previously?
Yes, sir.
How many times had he made that statement to you?
2 that I recall previous.
When he said that they burned her body in the pecan orchard, was this with Bo Dukes and his buddy?
Yes, sir.
And did he tell you how long they burned her body?
No, sir, he didn't disclose that, no.
Did he tell you anything else about that?
Just the sense that they burned her body and let it burn as long as they could, and whenever they were satisfied, they buried the rest.
And did he tell you how they buried the rest?
No, sir.
Did you ever go to the pecan orchard while you were here?
I'd never actually got out and walked around the pecan orchard, but we did drive past a section. I'm not exactly sure what little town it was, but he was like, do you see all that over there? That's part of the pecan orchard.
Now, Mr. McCullough, how did you react to what your battle buddy had told you?
It messed me up pretty good.
What do you mean it messed you up?
It was just tough to deal with that.
As a result of that, did you call law enforcement immediately?
No, sir. I actually waited until I was away from Fort Sill in Oklahoma, and whenever I got to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, for my AIT school for 88 Mike, which is transportation, It was probably a week after I'd actually arrived in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, that I actually made my first call. So it was roughly the end of February of '07.
So why did you wait, just so we're clear, from that November, December until February of 2007 to call someone about it?
So that way there wasn't a conflict in between me and Mr. Dukes. That way nothing escalated out of hand. And that was there. That way I could avoid confrontation, because the fact that, yes, it kind of hurt me really bad, but at the same time, it was in the sense of, I don't want to say like proud that he did it, but of the sense of just kind of like, like nonchalantly, it made me upset. And I'm very, I guess, protective, I guess. I'm not sure how to say it, but whenever it comes to women and, and kids and stuff like that.
So when you got to Fort Leonard Wood, is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
When you got to Fort Leonard Wood, who did you call?
I believe it was Fitzgerald Police Department.
Okay. Were you able to speak with anybody at that time?
Just the person that was at the front desk. And I just told them, hi, my name's John McCullough. I have some information about the missing school teacher.
And did you provide anything other than that?
I provided my phone number, and in which they had said, we can get somebody to contact you back.
Did anyone ever contact you back from the Fitzgerald Police Department?
No, sir.
Now, after that phone call to the Fitzgerald Police Department, did you have later contact with Agent Jason Shadell with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation?
Yes, sir. And I tried calling the GBI several times, and I got to where the agent that was initially working the case was no longer on it. Then there was a second agent that was working the case that was no longer on it. And then finally, whenever I had called, because I had reached out to other, police departments that were in the vicinity, like Osceola and then Rochelle, and then had mentioned the same thing. And then I had reached out on Facebook to, it was a Tara Grinstead Facebook page, and got in contact. I don't remember what her name was. It was a woman I know, because she had responded and said she was a family friend. And I said, well, my name's John McCullough. I have information about the case and stuff like that. You can call me private. Here's my email. You can do whatever. I just need to get the information out.
Did with regard to each of those places that you called, did any of them ever reach back out to you?
Other than the GBI, no, sir.
Now, when you spoke, I want to fast forward, if you will, to that is to June the 14th of 2016. Is that about the date that you recall that you spoke with Agent Shadell?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you spoke with Agent Shadell, June 14th of 2016, is what you told this jury today, what you told Agent Shadell?
Yes, sir.
With regard to, I want to direct your attention back to what he told you about burning Tara's body. Did he tell you anything about Pecanwood?
Oh, Pecanwood, yes, sir.
Pecanwood.
I'm from Texas. Accents are a little different. It just said that it burned really hot. And then you'd need something really hot in order to do that kind of stuff.
Nothing further.
Mr. Fox, you may cross-examine.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. McCullough.
Good morning, sir.
My name's John Fox. I represent Bo Dukes.
Yes, sir.
I have some questions for you.
That's fine.
Now, if I ask you anything which is unclear, let me know.
Yes, sir.
Important you understand the question that you answer.
Yes, sir.
You said you met Mr. Dukes at Fort Sill when you were there for basic training.
Yes, sir.
All right. That basic training started, I think you said, October, November, somewhere in there?
Well, I know I still have my original CAT card, and it's November of '06. Yes, sir.
November of 06. So before you go back for Exodus, which is when? Around Christmas time?
Yes, sir. It's roughly, it goes from, I think it was 5 days. I think we left on the 20th, and we had to be back just after the beginning of the year.
Okay. And so you had known Mr. Dukes before this month and a half?
Before Christmas Exodus, I'd probably say 3 or 4 weeks.
3 or 4 weeks, not even a full month?
Probably not, no, sir.
Okay. And how old was Mr. Dukes at the time he was in this?
I'm not sure, sir.
How old?
I never asked him his age.
Okay. How old were you at the time you were in basic
In
training?
2006, I'd be 25.
25. And it is your testimony today that prior to going on Exodus, Mr. Dukes had told you, 2 occasions I think you said over that 3 or 4 week period, that it takes a lot of heat to burn a body.
Well, the statement was, it takes more than 1,200 degrees.
In what context did those conversations come up?
I don't exactly remember of what context it was from. I know we had been out to do some training, like on the FOB, where we would actually go out and then camp out and stuff like that, where we actually would make fires in our little tents and stuff like that and everything. So,
Now, you not only talked with, don't want to skip around with, follow me for a second. You talked with the GBI June 14, 2016, correct?
yes, sir.
That was with Agent Shadell.
Yes, sir.
You have also talked with the GBI since then.
Yes, sir.
All right. And that would have been January 26, 2018,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
You understood that that conversation on January 26, 2018 was being recorded.
Yes, sir.
All right. To your knowledge, was the conversation on June 14, 2016 recorded? Was it recorded?
Not that I know of, sir. I'm not sure.
All right. Prior to today, did you have an opportunity to review either the written summaries prepared by the GBI of your 2 conversations or listen to the recorded statement that you gave in 2018?
I had received a paper in which it said, I guess they tried to, type what I had said, and I actually made the comment of, hey, there's a couple of things that aren't right in this, but I haven't listened to the recording or anything like that, no, sir.
Okay. Do you recall telling Agent Shadell on June 14, 2016, that Mr. Duke said he had been contacted by Tara Grinstead's boyfriend to help him?
It was under the assumption that way he had worded it, that it was either a boyfriend or a close friend or some kind of, I'd say, relationship interest, maybe, with a possibility. Yes, sir.
Was that your assumption?
Sir?
Was that your assumption?
Yes, sir. I took it under the assumption that it was a boyfriend or something like that, just by the, the way he was speaking about it.
So you don't disagree that you told Agent Shadell that Dukes had been contacted by Grinstead's boyfriend to help him?
Yes, sir.
You also told Agent Shadell that Dukes had relayed to you that the boyfriend had gotten upset and jealous with Grinstead, which provoked an argument leading to a physical altercation in which Grinstead was beaten or strangled.
Yes, sir.
Did you also tell Agent Shadell in that initial conversation that you had waited this long to follow up with the GBI because you believed Dukes may have just been intoxicated during those conversations and just talking?
Are you talking about from recently, from June 14th of 2016?
That's correct.
Oh, no. I didn't wait that long, no, sir.
Okay. All right. So you did not tell Agent Shadell that you had waited that long, that is, from the time the statement was made to the Exodus until you called him on the 14th of 2016, that you had waited that long to follow up just because you believed Dukes may have been intoxicated?
No, sir.
All right. The night he made the comment to you,
Yes,
as
sir.
riding around in the BMW, where'd you been that evening?
Sir?
Where had you been that evening?
It was a variety of different places, just little small hangouts, I guess, that were in town. And then I know we had stopped at a friend of his house. I don't remember his name. I just remember he was a extremely large guy. And whenever we had got there, there was a helicopter flying over that was spotlighting. And I was like, man, what's going on? And he said, don't worry about that. They're trying to get this guy for selling drugs. This is my dealer.
Ah, okay. And you guys then hung out at this house?
We were not there for very long, no, sir.
Okay. And you said that night you had observed Mr. Dukes drinking?
Yes, sir.
You had observed him using cocaine?
Yes, sir.
And you told the GBI, January 26, 2018, that when this conversation happens, you're driving the BMW, it's late at night.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
Mm-hmm. And on that note, I almost hit a beaver that was probably about 100 pounds. And I remember it very, very well.
Well, and that's because, as you said, you hadn't been drinking that night.
No, sir.
All right. You were taking your sobriety seriously, and you were not going to...
Well, it's not that I've
Deena.
never drank the entire time we were there, but on that particular night, no, sir, because I wanted to drive. And I'm very conscious about driving and always seatbelts, always everything, because I got kids, and I've always been like that. And I've actually had a child since I was, 19 years old.
And prior to entering the military, you had some DUIs in Texas.
No, sir.
All right.
No, I've never had any alcohol problems, drug problems, anything like that, ever.
Did you admit to the GBI, Jason Shadell, during your 2018 interview, that you had used drugs prior?
Yes, sir.
This night, you're driving a BMW. It's late at night.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your words on the 18th when describing this situation to Jason Shadell were that Mr. Dukes was obliterated?
He was pretty messed up, yes, sir.
All right. And, of course, you're driving the car because you don't want somebody who's obliterated driving the vehicle.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You could get killed. You could get hurt.
Very much so, yes, sir.
No condition to operate a motor vehicle.
Right, yes, sir.
Is he? He's obliterated. He's in no condition to do anything.
He had to tell me where to turn and stuff like that. He was okay enough to tell me that because, obviously this is my first time in Georgia, so
Sure.
I don't know where anything's at.
All right. All right. Very good. You see the poster. You guys have the conversation. And it is your testimony to the jury today that afterwards, when you got to Leonard Wood,
Yes, sir.
that you called Fitzgerald.
Police
Tell him what.
Yes, sir.
When you got back, I saw you came to tears earlier. I know this is difficult for you. This is something that upsets you greatly.
Very much so,
If
sir.
true,
Yes, sir.
it would be a serious crime. Somebody would have been murdered. Body would have been burned. When you got back to Fort Sill, were there not military police there?
There were, yes, sir.
Did you not have a superior officer?
I did.
But you didn't go to any of them and tell what you had just heard.
Say that one more time, sir.
Said you didn't go to anyone in the military and tell them what your fellow soldier from Basic had allegedly told you during Exodus.
No,
did
sir.
you? All right.
No, sir.
Now, in fact, you came back from Exodus late, correct?
Yes, sir. 1 day late because of, if I can explain of why that, okay, because that was such, a big thing for somebody to entrust in you, to tell you this. And, like I said, it was a big deal to me and it hurt me pretty good. And I actually got back, after that night and then got back to the house, asked, hey, can I use the truck? And got in the truck and I actually left. And I stayed gone because I didn't want to be around that. They had also, like I mentioned before, had gotten tickets for us to go to a Georgia-Virginia Tech game, in which I did not attend that either because I didn't want to be anywhere to the extent around it at that time because of the fact, it was so bothersome to me. And I actually, they had called and texted and, I kept making excuses of why I didn't want to come back. And then I finally did come back and he was already gone. And his mom actually took me to the bus stop in which I took a bus back to Fort Sill in Oklahoma, and actually came in at about, I would say, in between 10 and 11 o'clock at night.
Now, while you were still with Bo on Exodus,
Yes, sir.
there was a lot of heavy drinking going on. Maybe
There was
not on your
drinking,
part,
yes,
but
sir.
on his part.
Yes,
There was
sir.
drug use going on, correct?
Sir?
There was drug use going on,
Yes, sir.
correct? In fact, you told Agent Shadell on the January 26, 2018 interview that you had personal knowledge that when Mr. Dukes got back to Fort Sill, he got in trouble because of the level of drugs that he had.
Yes, sir, because it was 3 times over the limit, and they were wondering how he was still walking around and functioning.
Okay, and that's because that's what was going on during Exodus. There was drinking, there was partying, there was drug use.
Yes, sir.
All right. You are so disturbed by what you hear that you take someone's truck and drive off. You're a stranger in a strange land. You don't know where you are.
Yes,
You
sir.
said you had to get Bo to even try to tell you where you're going.
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you go to the police station? Tell somebody. You saw the posters.
Because it was kind of like what I had mentioned of, I was unsure. Because in one hand, I have this girl that I have no idea who it is, and her family. And then in the other hand, I have this guy that, is my battle, that I'm supposed to be, his back, I'm supposed to be his, watch his six, as the saying's going, the saying goes. So it's, what am I supposed to do? And it's very conflicted to me. But at the same time, it's like, what would I want if that was my family member or relative or something? What would I want to do? Wait, let them think nothing's going to happen, and then whenever I actually get away and get to next duty station, because it wasn't that long after we got back from Christmas Exodus, that I can try and reach out and do something about it.
Okay. And that's when you reached out to Fitzgerald in 2016?
That was actually in the end of February of 2007.
2007. All right.
And numerous times in between that since the time I got in contact with Jason Shadell at GBI.
And on all those numerous times that you had attempted to contact law enforcement, said you never got a call back.
Never got called back, took it almost as a joke. One had actually made a comment of, we get tips from people all the time like this, so, we'll make a note of it, is what they would tell me. Well, that was what an occasion had happened. Oh, we'll make a note of it. If anything comes from it, we'll give you a call back.
Okay. This is disturbing you, something that's haunting you.
Yes.
You're not getting the response you want. In fact, you describe what you're hearing on the other end as him not taking it seriously, correct?
Yes, sir.
So why didn't you get in the car and drive somewhere? Why didn't you follow up more than just making a couple of phone calls?
I just wanted to call and try and do my part, and I figured, man, I'm reaching out to all these people, and they don't want to believe me. Mm-hmm. So, even with my wife, I've told her several times, what else can I do? What can I do? And in the sense of that, I even, contemplated what else can I do? So whenever I felt that they weren't doing their part, I actually was sitting on the couch one day and just popped up in my head, and I thought about it. And then my wife said, oh, well, let's see if anything's changed. So she pulled it up on her phone and said, holy crap, look what's going on. And it's like, you've been telling me this, exactly what this girl's been telling you, or saying in this interview with this guy on 48 Hours for years. And I said, what the hell? So I reached out and I emailed 48 Hours, the guy that actually did the interview. And then I had Michelle Fewer, who was a producer for CBS, actually return my call.
Was this before you spoke with Agent Shadell in 2016?
It was after.
After.
In the sense of whenever I had talked to him on June 14th, and then he had said, I'll get back to you if I need anything else. Mm-hmm. He contacted me one time after that, like in the short period, and had told me that he was going to interview Bo and stuff like that, and then he would let me know if he needed anything else from me. Okay. I had texted him several times, and he had texted me back and said, I had told him that I was going to get a DNA sample from him, and other things, and I'll just let you know how it turns out, and if we need anything else, I'll get back.
Okay. And the TV special that you saw, that was the one where Brooke Sheridan was on TV?
Yes, sir.
All right. Since your initial conversation with Agent Shadell in 2016, have you been keeping up with this case?
No, sir.
Okay. So even after seeing this on 48 Hours, you haven't looked online, tried to update anything?
No, sir.
All right. You never told Agent Shadell that you, during your 2018 interview, that you had looked it up and seen that Ryan Duke had been arrested?
I believe that was also in tail of whenever all that was going on with 48 Hours and all that other stuff.
Okay. So you had gained, since your conversation with Agent Shadell in 2016, you had gained knowledge about the case based on what you saw and heard on television.
To an extent, I would say, but if you check back from many years ago, whenever they actually recorded my statement or anything, nothing's changed, and nor will it change.
Okay.
Because
So-
I know what I heard, I remember it, I live it every day, and it sucks.
All right. And your testimony is that there were no differences in the statement you gave Shadell in 2016 and the one you gave in 2018.
No, sir.
You had testified you had sent some Facebook messages.
Yes, sir.
Email. Okay. Do you have a copy of those with you today?
No, sir, and I do not have Facebook at all anymore.
So outside of perhaps who you sent to having that, you have no record that that message was sent?
No, sir. Just the only thing I had, like I said, is just that I offered my name and phone number and email, and the wish for somebody to call me private or do whatever they needed to, and then they had further to tell me, well, why don't you just tell me on here? And I told them I wasn't comfortable with it. If they would please call me or have somebody call me, that way I could get out the information.
And after you left Fort Sill, 2016, you and
Fort Sill
Bo
in
Dukes,
2006.
I'm sorry, 2006.
Well, it's 2007 whenever I left Fort Sill.
Okay. That's when you
Yes,
took
sir.
off to Leonard Wood.
Yes, sir.
All right. You and Bo Dukes have not talked once since then.
No, sir.
First time you've seen him since then?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Mr. Rigby, any redirect?
Does know your approach, Rigby? I do have redirect, yes.
All right, members of the jury, we're going to take a recess. If you'll just make yourselves comfortable in the jury room, and we'll resume as quickly as we can. Thank you.